Now, tonight, we're focusing on young voters as our election coverage continues and what matters to them most when we go to the polls in 2 days' time.
I went to Exeter College and I spoke to two groups of young people, first-time voters and soon-to-be voters, and I asked them what kind of issues really mattered to them.
My most important issue is the underfunding of the NHS. My local hospital, North Devon Hospital, because it's so underfunded, the waiting times are massive.
I think for me it's like housing, because it's pretty much impossible to buy or rent a house in this economy.
I mean, healthcare provision for trans people particularly. The trans debate, none of it's focusing on the issues that really matter to trans people or anyone else.
I just want basic financial security and security that, and the knowledge that I'll get healthcare if I want it.
Rejoining the European Union or getting a single market deal.
This stuff about national service.
Yeah. I wondered how
that affects my generation specifically, which is why it's so important that we vote. Because if we don't want this to happen to us, then we need to act now.
I definitely feel like the national service thing that they're trying to do is not popular at all in the younger generation. I don't think I've ever heard a good thing about it in my peer group.
Well, obviously, I don't agree with the idea of national service. I do think a system like it, where obviously people in education could get skills, life skills, because I think we're in desperate need of it.
What do you think of the the main political players? Should we start this side?
I don't really trust any of them. A lot of them are too similar to really be like, will they actually make a difference?
I kind of I've always been kind of told, trust the party, not the politician.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they all kind of think politicians are just kind of in it for the money, in it to be like the leaders of the country. And we've got to kind of focus more on their morals rather than who the actual person is.
So if the MPs are watching this, because obviously they want you guys to vote, what advice would you give them?
Just the communication with us, figuring out what we want and how they can help us would really boost everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe campaigning in areas where younger people are, maybe in Exeter College, if they came in and they campaigned in these areas, then people would be able to ask them questions, and I feel like it would stand out to us a bit more.
Can make us a lot more politically minded on top of that, because then, like I said, I don't know much about politics. I want to know, but I don't know where to look. So if someone came in campaigning, and obviously I would hear what they want to do, their opinions straight from them.
What would you say to other young people out there that I don't know, I don't get it, I could just vote the way my parents say I should? What would you say to them?
Educate yourself, get out there, look at their morals, look at what they're doing, look at how they campaign, talk to people. That's the only way you're going to actually learn and figure out how to navigate this whole process.
I'm quite lucky in having my friends tell me obviously what they stand for, and obviously luckily they obviously tell me everything about it. Whereas I think it's really important to look into it, like I say, just vote, because that's what we need to do.
We all know who we'd vote for, we're all quite educated on the subject of voting. And I think that now more than ever it's really important too, with so many parties having plans for our generation. And I think it's really important that we'd have the vote.
In my opinion, you have to be the change that you want to see. And if you aren't willing to do that, then you can't complain.
Thanks to Exeter College. I have to say, they were clued up. Really, they'd all read all the manifestos as well. So, yeah, it was very impressive. Thanks to them for talking to us.
Yeah. Some genuinely interesting thoughts there, weren't there? Well, earlier we spoke to Dr. Rebecca Baker, who's a lecturer in politics at the University of Exeter. We started by asking her if the students Alex spoke to are typical of first-time voters.
I think it's a mixed bag. I think there are a lot of young people, like other demographics, that are both engaged and disengaged. But I also think it's a common misconception that young people aren't politically aware, when in actuality it's just that they associate their actions differently from politics. They tend to focus on it being social action, because for them politics is quite a negative thing.
Do you think that political parties are underestimating the young vote then?
They always do. They don't target young people, and it becomes a little bit of a vicious cycle. They don't target young people because young people don't vote, and young people don't vote in part because politicians and parties don't target their policies to young people.
Well, of course, if the Labour Party get in, they're going to reduce the voting down to 16, aren't they? So what does that, given what you just said, what's that going to do to electioning?
Well, we already have some data in this because obviously Wales and Scotland have already reduced down. And interestingly, what we saw in that is that the 16 and 17-year-olds voted more than the 18 to 24-year-old cohort. So there is, that's a crucial point in socialisation, that because they're already at home and they have these interests already there, 16 and 17-year-olds in our other elections did vote more. So it might actually be something that helps support it moving forward.
That's very interesting.
How much do issues like housing, employment, play into young people nowadays?
I think more significantly than before. So traditionally, the priority has always been climate action. So if you asked young people what was the most important thing for the last few years, climate would have been right up there. What's really interesting about this election is that that's not what we're seeing. The economy, housing and the NHS, health are topping it for that demographic because they are facing even more challenges than older generations and they're not being targeted in policies to solve it.
And finally, you don't have a crystal ball, but what can we expect, do you think, in terms of the turnout of young people?
I don't think that we will see a significant change than what's come before. I think it will probably be around the same as it was in 2019, 2015. 2017 was an anomaly, but it will be interesting to see how they turn out for reform because we are seeing some increased support on that side, which is unique for young people being as they tend to be more on the left than the right.
Interesting, all very interesting. Dr. Rebecca Baker, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Well, for those of you who've had enough, there's only 2 days to go. However, for those of you who want more, there is more. ITV News continues at 6:30.